In the morning when I rise, and before I close my eyes, anytime I'm in despair, I just speak this little prayer. God's light surrounds me, God's love unfolds me, God's power protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. When the cold winds start to blow and they beat up on your door, every night will have its dawn. Hold this thought as you hold on. God's light surrounds you, God's love unfolds you, God's power protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. We all hear the Spirit call. It's a small world after all. Bound together in and through this one common simple truth. God's light surrounds us, God's love unfolds us, God's power protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God's light surrounds us, God's love unfolds us, God's power protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of the Seacoast, where two or more gathered, well, we see a crowd. I'd like to welcome you on live stream, and if you're new for the first time, we're really happy to have you here. And everyone else, I'm trying to look for. Anyway, welcome. I've been a member. Oh, okay.
Just bring it up. No, it's on. It's just you just need to get it.
Just hold it.
Yeah, just bring it a little.
Yeah, I've been a member of Unity churches for 27 years, and 8 of them in on Unity of the River, and the rest Unity of the Seacoast. And so much gratitude in my heart that I found this church. I was diligently looking for a church that had the description of Unity has. We welcome all paths to God. That's what I loved about it, among other things. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay. Please silence your cell phones if you haven't already. And I will read the daily word for today. I love the daily word. I remember when I first joined Unity and it first came out, I subscribed immediately because it always resonated in my heart for the day and still does to this day. So excuse me, the daily word is power. My thoughts and words reflect my divine inheritance. When I listen to my inner conversation and recurrent thoughts, I may hear fear-based, limited talk, or I may hear positive words encourage me to live joyfully and confidently. The choice is mine, though my divine gift of power Through my divine gift of power, I take command of my thoughts and my life. I release thoughts of powerlessness. As I do, my negative self-talk diminishes. I affirm my divine inheritance of faith, wisdom, understanding, and strength with my thoughts, words, and actions. The power to live a full life is mine. I embrace insights I've gained through experience. I own my mistakes without shame or embarrassment. I'm eager to learn. I'm willing to try new things and stretch myself. In power, I thrive. And the verse from Proverbs 18:21 is, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. And again, the affirmation is power. My thoughts and words reflect my divine inheritance. We also share a mission statement. And if you'd like to follow along, please do that. Our mission statement is, we're a loving, nurturing community dedicated to being a positive path for spiritual living, to awakening oneness with God within us all. Yeah, read the second. Excuse me. I want to read what it says down here. We recite a mission statement each work. Now, as we begin the year, we should begin to reflect on what it will mean to us in the new year and what actionable things can we attach to it so it becomes alive in our hearts. Inclusion and openness will be parts of Tom's theme for the year. I'd also, you may check out our website. It's unityoftheseacoast.org. And there's a lot of good information on there in case you missed some announcement from us personally. Whole Talks are archived there, so it's something you want to look back and reflect on. And also there's some writings there, and you know, if you want to read my journey, the next one is talks about tithing. If you want to read my journey on tithing, it's on that, on the webpage. I just want to say something about tithing. You know, there was a time that I owed my mortgage, and I heard about tithing at Unity on the River. And I thought to myself, wow, how could all these people tithe 10% and get money back? And so I was in the dire straits at this time. I'd physical challenges, and so I says, oh my God, I better start tithing or I can't pay my mortgage. Guess what? It didn't work. And at that time I was going to the 4Ts class, which we were required to tithe 10%. That was the best experience I could have had because I'm great to follow contracts. And I was so grateful. And I didn't even think of it. And they talked about right off the top, that's your first bill, Bonnie. If you would call it a bill, that's your first bill. You give 10%, pay that 10%. And then what I heard and what I resonated with me was, if I don't have an open heart to tithe, it won't work. And so today, I don't even think of it. There's a lot of places that inspire me. Worldwide Unity, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here sitting in these chairs. I tithe to I always have a well in another European country, and also make sure children are fed, because I know what it feels like to grow up hungry. But they inspire me. That inspires me twofold. So I just wanted to point that out. I was thinking that this morning. So I'm so grateful. And if you feel called, and if your heart is open to giving, we have a donate button. It's called Tithely, and you can go right on a webpage, and it shows there. And also, if you feel called to mail a check, that's your choice. The address is Unity of the Seacoast, McConnell Center, Suite 246, 61 Locust Street, not Dover, New Hampshire, 03820. And also, Charles Machad has a meditation the first Monday of every month. And he has his topics, and I know that's really, really beneficial for many, many people. I meditate all the time. I go to different groups. It saved my life. But anyway, we have also been broadcasting live to YouTube on our YouTube channel. All you need to do is just type in Unity of the Seacoast and pray real hard in the YouTube search button. And we eventually had many of the past services there archived as well. And there are a lot of services on there from Unity. Unity, years and years ago. And I said, wow, that comes up so quick. That's 2014. I don't want that. I want Unity on the Seacoast. But you just you'll find it. The following 2 weeks, we'll do a series on prosperity. Oh, I didn't know that. We will look at 3 styles: Edwin Grain's The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, Charles Fillmore Prosperity, and Mary Morrison's Prosperity Plus. And the last one, I would eventually like to present her course. On February 12th, we'll have Frank Barron speak. Welcome, Frank. As Tom will take a weekend off to rest up, thank God, time. So please, everyone, join us in Frank's talk on love. He's a jewel. He's got a great sense of humor, and he makes me laugh a lot. Thank you, Frank. And now we also do a Sanskrit word, which is namaste. And you can use it any way you want to. The divine in me sees and honors the divine in you. The Christ in me sees and honors the Christ in you. Or anything you want to put on your heart. And what we do, we just can't hug, of course, but we hold our hands like this and say, namaste. Okay, now Barbara will grace us with another wonderful song.
If God had me, what would it be and would he call it to his face? If you with him in all his glory, what would you ask him at just one question?
Yeah, yeah, God is great. Yeah, yeah, God is good. Yeah, 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 yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a like one of us. Just a stranger, one of us. Trying to take his way home. God in a face, what would it look like? Would you want to see that you would have to believe things like heaven, and Jesus and the saints, all the prophets. Yeah, yeah, God is great. Yeah, yeah, God is good. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a sob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. He's trying to make his way home. back up heaven all alone. Nobody calling on phone. Step for both may be in Rome. Yeah, yeah, God is great. Yeah, yeah, God is good. Yeah, 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 yeah. What if I was one of us? Just a star like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus. Trying to make his way home. Just trying to make his way home. Like a rolling stone. Back up to heaven all alone. Just trying to make his way home. Nobody calling on the phone. Except for the Pope may be in Rome.
I was going to say this out loud. Boy, am I nervous this morning. I always am in front here. I'm supposed to be like many different states in front of 200 people. I'm not nervous. But here I am.
Yeah, just take a deep breath. You'll be good.
I know. I've been taking deep breaths. Oh, one time I was sharing it in front of a big group, and I said, "Oh, I'm so nervous," and they said, "That's just God trying to shake the truth out of you." Well, I've got some truth here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just bring it a little closer.
You can take it out.
Yeah, you can take it out.
Oh boy, my favorite part. I get to share about our wonderful Reverend Tom, his journey to this place. Always here, no matter what. Always willing to help, no matter what, and how he's feeling. And so, in my prayer and meditation last night, and I know all of you will relate to this. I'm not going to tell you the title of the poem I'm going to read. I don't know, come up. This is our Tom. This is our Tom, which I'd like to share before I tell you the name of it. One night I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from light flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there were two sets of footprints. Other times there were one set of footprints. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, and defeat, and I'm going to add for Tom, open surgery, kidney problems, dialysis, open sores, healing, and operated on. Well, that's just probably in the past year. I could see only one set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, "You promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always." But I've noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there have been only one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, you have not been there for me? The Lord replied, "The times when you have seen only one set of footprints in the sand is when I carried you." And we know, I'm sure a lot of us relate to that. And I'm so grateful. So that's all I'm going to share right now because you know Tom and we listen to him. So I'd like to welcome Tom.
Thanks.
little low. That's right. First of all, choir, thank you. Normally I close the door so I can meditate when I'm listening, but you guys sound so great this morning. I had to have it open and listen. I'm always thankful to hear the choir. This morning's talk, I kind of did it a few months ago. It's a back to basics because I think it's important that during the year you get to understand what unity is and unity principles. And I thought I'd start the year off on this. I'm going to take a seat because it's been a heck of a week. For those who don't know, I had some surgery done this week, and it took quite a toll on me. So my energy level is way down here. So today's lesson is less a homily and more of an understanding of what Unity of the Seacoast is about. You know, we look at ideas, both unity and mind, and we try and get a fresh perspective. Why? Well, because I want you guys to understand Unity's perspective and from my perspective, but I want you guys to seek your own perspective because I always say this, I don't want you to believe the way I believe. I want you guys to believe the way you believe. And that's the only way we expand our consciousness and beliefs is by each one figuring out what works for us. And I'll begin with God. God is every principle known and unknown. What does that mean? Well, everything and all things operate based on principles, the principles of science and physics and such. And as we move through evolution, we begin to understand many of these principles. And there are many that we don't understand. We understand that everything works within certain ways. And it's through these principles that all was created. The first two particles that smashed together into each other and expanded simultaneously to the principles that created life and evolution, to the principles that we use to create things with. You know, we get the principles that make up fire and how gravity works. But yet, even when we think we got them, we find there are new principles that come along and come into play. You know, we understand electricity. Although we don't see it most of the time, most of us cannot conceive creating the pathways in which electricity flows, but we know how to use it. I can repair a generator. I still don't know why that makes electricity. And these principles, they do not make mistakes. They do not think, they always act and react in the same ways. And all these things add up to make stuff. And in that stuff is life. Somehow, in the mixture of all this, starting from nothingness, life exists. And it thrives and it expands. All these principles have been there forever, waiting to unfold until they each got to do that thing, that unique thing that each one does. And everything evolved. So if principle existed, then it flows naturally that every possibility that ever happened in the world and in the universe existed. It was just waiting to unfold and to manifest. Now, is that intelligent? Well, being intelligent is a characteristic of something. What we're talking about is intelligence and expanding wisdom based on principles of what was and what could be and what will be. It's an intelligent design to create all that is, for all those principles to interact and form the existence of all that we recognize. But it's not a thinking intelligence such as human thought. It's something more than that, something much more significant. There's a spirit that connects all these things to one another, that makes them act and react in the way that they do. You can wipe out all we know, all we see, destroy it all, abolish the universe, but the principles will still be there, and the force that binds them to do the things that they do will still be there, and that is spirit. Spirit in all its possibilities is divine mind, or divine mind in action. Call it what you want, call it source, call it science, call it the architect of the universe. I call it God. God is a non-thinking force that all thought comes from, a non-physical force that all the physical comes from and expresses through. God is a non-life form in the sense that we understand life, that all life comes from. God is not an idea, but that which all ideas come from. God is every possibility that ever was and will be. God is the single universe, the multiverse. God is that connection to our own thoughts that we have or connections to others. God is what we use to build our lives or to take apart our lives. God is good, but God does not decide good. God is always good because God is always nurturing forth the evolution of all, including us. Even in destruction, evolution happens. A mountain becomes new as sand again. Flesh becomes new organic material, and the cycles continue. Now, what do we understand as something that always nurtures? Love always nurtures. God is the infinite source of nurture. And if God is the infinite source of nurture, then does it just go to follow that God is the infinite source of love? Or quite simply, God is love. Now, at some point in this evolution, life began, species came and went. We know this because we've seen fossils and bones, and we've seen species evolve. Evolution, according to Charles Fillmore, and I think he's really spot on with this. Evolution is the journey toward perfection. Creation is the inception of something, but evolution is that journey towards perfection. Humans emerged, created, and evolved. And at some point, something unique began to happen. We began to be aware that we are aware. So many living creatures have awareness, but live only instinctual lives. We began to look at our past, to look towards the future, to communicate, to write, and to store information and wisdom for use in future generations. Evolution became the unfolding of man into spiritual consciousness. This is a giant leap in the development of all, because we discovered that we can interact with all these principles and create a life. Everything and all came through God and God principles. We began to understand our unfoldment and how to interact with these principles, and we began to create and to craft our lives. In other words, we began to express ourselves through these principles. And it goes to reason, if we do that, then we are an interactive expression of God. Now, everything is an expression of God, but the difference between us and everything else is we became individualized. We are individual expressions of God. And the main characteristics in that is that we have wisdom. That's why I say that the image of God is love and wisdom. And the idea of the Adam and Eve story, it's not an actual depiction of the creation of man. It's a representation of when we became aware. It's the moment in our evolution when we began using freedom of choice and expression. Up to this point, we lived instinctual lives and instinctual existence. We did what all creatures did. We survived and thrived in the same way. Food was provided for us for our taking, like the way birds find berries or wolves find meat. We did just enough to move the species to the next generation. That kind of life that we're always provided for, that's what the Garden of Eden represents. Eating from the tree of good and evil and such, with humans stepping up to be proactive in our own evolution and being proactive in the evolution of the world and the universe and all that is around us. We accepted the choices with all the consequences and cause and effects that come with choices. We learned to create some wonderful, great things, at the same time, things that are not so good. But us eating from that tree is not the great sin. It's the greatest blessing. It's what separates us from all other beings. It's the biggest factor that moved us forward to where we are today. Because we learned to create art and song. We developed how to farm and cook. We have the ability to open the body of another human or another species and repair that. No other creature can do that. We can merge two plants together to form a new one. And more than that, we could pass this knowledge on to future generations. That evolutionary unfoldment of storing and passing knowledge forward has put us leaps and bounds ahead of any other creature or life force in the planet and thus the universe until we know otherwise. We're also the only other species that can plan and create its own demise. This is us co-creating with God, God through us. And one of the things that we learned as we move forward is that we have a wealth of inexhaustible ideas. And when we set our minds to something, we can do anything. We can bring anything to manifestation. Charles Fillmore wrote, "We are always decreeing something, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. And with every thought and word, we are increasing or diminishing the threefold activity of substance. The resulting manifestation conforms to our thought. In other words, as he thinketh within himself, so is he." And one of the things that we discovered and are still unfolding is that if we act and react within these laws, we can craft our lives in many ways. The law of attraction falls into these principles that is God. We act and react with love, and love follows. And that's the theory. There's a theory that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is not so with love. When you inject love into something, the opposite does not happen. There is no opposite of love. Because love is the driving force, the nurturing force to all that's created. Hate is not the opposite of love. It's the absence of love. Evil is the absence of love. Because when you add love, those things disappear. And I'm also sure you can think of a scenario where someone acts hateful and you add love and it doesn't change the situation. But that's on that person. That person is refusing to allow love in, therefore keeping it absent. There's also another saying, like attracts like. People are attracted to commonalities. Loving people are drawn to loving people. People are drawn to what they know. Abused people somehow keep finding abusive relationships. People of similar skin tones are drawn to each other. People with similar diets find groups or religions stick together. We all find our commonalities, but at some point, people began to look deeper than the physical things that draw us together to see what really draws us together deeper, what progresses our lives and our happiness, what makes us who we are, what makes us broken, what makes us whole. People wondered if there was a way where we could completely interact with all to develop our own lives. And we began to look at life within these principles, and we're connected to them. And that's the concept of new thought, to understand that we are connected to something that is greater than us, that we get to work with that in a loving, connected way to craft our lives. This includes our mental attitude, our physical state, and the material world around us. We let go of ego, strike a balance with it all. That's what Buddha understood. That's what Jesus understood. We discovered that our minds could heal our body. Our minds can heal our mental status. We learned that living up to our best selves brings about rewards that the material world cannot. When we began thinking religion and science were opposed to each other. That it was God, not science, or science canceled out God. But then some people began to look at those concepts as limiting, because God and science both felt so clearly present in our lives. Why can't they be connected? Perhaps they are the same. God is and science is. Just because we can explain something in scientific terms does not mean it is not God. And if God is science, then we get to understand how we can work with that and create our lives. And we do this on a daily basis. Everything we've created has been using principles. And this concept struck Charles and Myrtle Fillmore when they heard a speaker, Dr. E.B. Weeks. And he had a line that stuck with Myrtle Fillmore. I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit illness. She had tuberculosis, among other ailments, and Charles suffered from a painful leg that was shorter than the other from a childhood ice skating accident. But Dr. E.B. Weeks had been inspired by Emma Curtis Hopkins, who had been inspired by Mary Baker Eddy and Phineas Quimby. And that inspiration goes way back, goes all the way back to James, Jesus, and beyond. And the Fillmores began to study the works and the writings of Emma Curtis Hopkins, among others. And then they developed their own ideas for new thought. They held gatherings to discuss their ideas. They formed a prayer group called Silent Unity. And they eventually decided to publish their ideas. Their publication, which is still in existence, called Unity Magazine. One of the first articles they published was a full, huge article called Lessons in Truth by H. Emily Cady, which became the book of the same, which is one of the founding books of Unity. If you ever get a chance to read it, it's a wonderful book. But both Charles and Myrtle Fillmore found great success and comfort in practicing their ideas. They both healed themselves. And from this, they began a movement. Unity was not intended to be a denomination, but rather of a way of gathering together to discussing thoughts, ideas, and principles. According to James Dillett Freeman, the Fillmores' belief centered on two basic propositions. One, God is good. And the other is God is available. In fact, God is within you. They developed what they called practical Christianity, based on the use of thought and spiritual connection to God, living a life that's called the Christ-like life. The word Christ was an attainment. It's not a title, a part of a name or a label given to a man. It was originally Jesus the Christ. Somewhere along the line, the was removed. But this is a kind of life, that's something that we can all attain. Again, I refer to Charles Fillmore. He wrote, no one ever attains spiritual consciousness without striving for it. The first step is to ask. Ask and it shall be given to you. Prayer is one form of asking, seeking, and knocking. Then make your mind receptive to a higher understanding through silent meditations and affirmations of truth. The earnest desire to understand spiritual things will open the way and reveal within and without the will to follow. When we add the word Christ to anything, it brings up all sorts of religious connotations. Some people flock to the word while other people dismiss it as, there's some religious stuff I don't want to hear. But living the Christ life or connecting to your Christ-like nature is just living up to the best version of you. It's trying to connect to God or source or whatever you want to call it But really, it's just simply being the best you in as many moments as possible. And I always say as possible because we all have human moments where we step away from our best self. But we try and step back into our best self as soon as we can. The Fillmores believe that most of the answers of life can be found in the Bible, but it takes work. Because the stories of the Bible take a new perspective, that a lot is not literal, but it's metaphysical. So looking through a new lens to find a meaning to things that we thought we understood. And in doing so, we can eliminate or cancel out the negative thinking, the negative patterns in our lives, and see ourselves as spiritual, spirit that controls the physical through a positive way of thinking. You know, when I first started this, I remember them talking about everything could be metaphysical. And I thought, that's a bunch of hooey. There's no way you can reinterpret all those things. But the funny thing is, I started reading the Bible, and I didn't understand that. I looked at these metaphysical interpretations. And it's great because it allows you to interpret metaphysically on your own terms, not someone else's. But I found I was getting really great answers from the Bible by looking at it from a new perspective. So what does this mean for you? Well, first, it should give you permission to look at the Bible or any other source through your own lens with a different perspective. We get to drop the ways of the past. Just because you were taught one way doesn't mean it's the right way for you. This includes any and all things from the past. You get to trust yourself, your thinking, and your ability to solve and create your life. You get to pray and meditate to affirm your life. And you get to attract anything into your life that you desire. You get to co-create your life using all that God offers. It's anything that you want your life to be. You have at your mental fingertips all you need to craft the life that you want. And that's the idea of practical Christianity. That you can use the lessons of the Bible not as a way of following doctrine or rule, but as a way of gaining insight and wisdom to use into your everyday life, to unlock what you already know or awaken to what is within you, and to attract the life that you want to live. The laws of attraction are exact. It is something that can work, something we can work with when crafting our lives. It's the biggest factor in creating our life. Thoughts held in mind bring about in kind. Like attracts like. You ever begin your day badly and it sets the tone for your day? It's that way because we begin to, our mindset for the day, oh, this day is going to be terrible, and that's what we accept for our day. And this repeatedly happens in our lives. Our thoughts and words and deeds set us up for what unfolds in our lives. It happens with illness and the way we handle illness. It happens financially. It happens in the jobs we accept or the relationships we cling to or the values that we accept. What we accept about ourselves or the dominant thoughts that we choose to cling to determines our day's outcome and begins patterns that determine our lives. We've all met those sunshiny people where rainbows just land on them all day. Goodness bestows them. Anything bad seems to turn out to be wonderful. And we've also met those Eeyores. Remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Those people who, no matter what, life is just exceedingly hard. And they're going to let you know about it. But they have a commonality. The commonality is they get what they expect. And I know this from both angles, so I understand it. And when I began to expect the best out of life, that's what presented itself. And you guys can say, well, Tom, you just had the heart thing, you had the leg thing, your kidney thing is failing. And that's true. But I also remember thinking, when I was young, I would be dead by the 40s because of the illnesses I was fighting. But I'm here, I'm strong. Sort of standing before you today. I'm not quite standing. And I wish I could tell you that illness doesn't happen, but it's how you view it, how you react to it. You can heal and cure most things until the body does not. But I certainly believe in all these principles that guide my life. We've already established that before there was anything, there was spirit and principle. They're self-existent, and they'll be here forever. So after my body fades, I think that's what will remain. That force is so strong that it's infinite, and I'm part of that. So I have that within me. So my life, no matter what, is infinite. And that's what I mean when I tell everybody, each life, each person is infinite possibilities. Because we have that spark of divinity in us. We have that same spirit that flows within us, which is unlimited. The only limits we have are those limits that we create or accept about ourselves. Jesus understood this in John 14 when he said, "Most assuredly I say to you, he who believes in me, the works I do, he will do also and greater. He will do these because I go to my Father." We have been doing greater ever since. He showed fishermen how and where to catch fish. We bring in fish by the tanker loads now. He fed the masses. When we put our minds together, we feed the world. He healed. We have buildings full of people whose only job it is to heal. We heal broken bones, sprains, tumors, diseases. People take my blood out 3 times a week and cleanse it so I can live. We are doing those things that he does and greater. He taught about nonviolent confrontation. And although it may not appear to be the case if you watch the news, nonviolent confrontation has made more changes around the world by double than violent confrontation. We do things in our lives every day that would be considered a miracle back then. I can use my phone and visually talk to someone on the other side of the world. We routinely send people outside the barriers of Earth. 130 years ago, it would take months to cross an ocean or the continent. We have people who do that several times a day now. By using all that we know of wisdom and love and the use of these principles. Now, Jesus may not have seen it play out exactly this way, but he saw it in some fashion and had faith in us to reach for unlimited possibilities. In each moment, there is a rebirth of thoughts, selves, matters, ideas, and all the things that create and evolve. We just have to let go of ego, that part of us that thinks that we know more. The ego will tell you you cannot, when your spirit tells you you can. So what do you choose to listen to? Ego will tell you don't fit in or something is wrong. But spirit is perfect and will tell you you're perfect. The physical is ever changing and waning, but spirit is always perfect and moving in perfection. And we, as spirit, were born from perfection into perfection. Every time I say this every week. I mean that with my whole heart. Ego reacts from things about ourselves that we may not like. Spirit would never do that. Because spirit is love. We act and react with love, and the life we love is the result. Spirit propels your life forward. Every time you love something, God is loving you back. Whenever you don't love something or you feel less than, God is still loving you back. That's all God does. God loves always. I'd like to step away and bring this to a meditation.
Opening to the light, we are opening up my mind to touch the stars, awakening from this dream to find the nectar of silence beyond the mind. Opening to the light, we are opening up my mind to touch the stars, awakening from this dream to find the nectar of silence beyond the mind. We are opening, awakening, opening, awakening, opening, awakening, opening, awakening.
I love watching you sing. I'm going to pull some meditations out from Marianne Williamson's book, The Age of Miracles. I ask each person to take in a deep breath and exhale. Let your body get comfortable. And find a comfortable breathing pattern that works for you. As we breathe in and out, we recognize that there is one presence and power in our lives and in the universe. God the good, great omnipresence. Dear God, please melt the walls in front of my heart. Remove my fear. Restore my joy, that I might love again. Dear God, please make me a master at love. Reveal to me its mysteries. Give to me its magic. And may I never use its powers for any purposes but the ones you intend. Dear God, in these monumentous times, please pave a path for which the world can repair itself. Use me in any way you wish to turn dark toward the light. And while we're in this prayerful meditation, I ask each of you to think of those that you love, known and unknown, who may be facing a battle that's difficult to overcome. Maybe it's hunger, fear, self-doubt, illness, mental illness. I want you to see them in wholeness and affirmation of love and health. And for those that are whole, feeling the world is their oyster, I want to affirm that this remains with them so, that the waters remain smooth. We affirm for everyone the road that we walk is smooth. We share the love throughout the world, till the world responds and understands the love. Though utopia may seem like a distant dream, we have the ability to strive for that within ourselves and within others. And again, we affirm for the world health, wholeness, love, and wisdom, which is the image of God. And so it is. Amen. When we do another prayer here, we do a prayer of tithes and offerings, and we get someone to wander around
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am. Letting fear and worry fall away from me, I open my eyes to see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. A love that heals, a love that sets us free. There is only love.
like guys repeat the prayer of tithes and offerings with me. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. We'll recite the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And we are richly blessed. Now, folks, I hope you stick around. We have so much food. One of my favorite things about Unity, from the very first Unity church I went into, is that we never left without a full belly. But I think that's important, especially as the economy gets tight and all that. We come in here, we get a great meal, we leave spiritually filled, but our belly full. So please stick around. This is my favorite part of the day. And I'm going to step away while we do our closing song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, in oneness all are we. In love we walk with each other, in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me, let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, this truth is my joyous vow. To live each moment and love each moment, peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun